60s and 70s, the racism towards brown Jews was very, very high. And they really wanted to distance themselves from that as much as possible. And so for me, I had to learn what the racism was in the first place. And when you kind of learn it like that, coming from the teachings of civil rights movement and Martin Luther King, and growing up with Rosa Parks as my idol, it was kind of like really clear to me that there's a lot of racism, while people around me didn't even see it, still don't, to this day.
Welcome to Women Ending War, the podcast where Palestinian and Israeli women talk about partnerships for peace, real solutions, and ideas for crafting a new world.
It's where we express our pain, anger, dreams, creativity, and vision, where hope is a conscious choice.
معاكم أميرة مسلم.
I'm Elana Stockman. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, Eva. Salam alaikum, Eva. And salam alaikum. Welcome, Brucha Ba'a, Leah Hadar. Nice to see you both today. Hi. So, Leah, longtime activist, peace activist in Israel. And how long have you been living in Israel?
Since I was 9 years old, and so I'm turning 41, so 32 years.
And where are you from originally?
I was born in Los Angeles, California.
And you came when you were a kid with your family?
Yeah, my mom's Jewish American, and my father is Jewish Iranian and Israeli.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I like to say that I'm West Coast meets Middle East.
That's nice.
Yeah. And my dad came to Israel when he was 5, and then he went to the States for like a degree when he was a student in university, and that's where he met my mom. He had 3 kids, and then they came here, all 5 of us, when I was 9.
So Iran has been in the news. How has your family been managing all the war with Iran?
Well, like most brown Jews in Israel, we call them Mizrahi. My family has really shed their national identity towards Iran, for sure, 1,000%. And also shedding a lot of Iran isn't a good example because it's not a Arab country. It is Muslim, but still shedding the Muslimness, the Arabness, and trying to be as white as possible, Ashkenazi as possible. You can see that I have 6 uncles, and most of them chose Ashkenazi spouses, and it was like a thing because back in the day when they were growing up and teenagers in the 60s and 70s, the racism towards brown Jews was very, very high, and they really wanted to distance themselves from that as much as possible. So that was back then when they were choosing spouses 30 years ago. So you can just imagine now it's even more far gone. Try and be as European as possible and as least Arab Middle Eastern as possible while living in the Middle East.
And how do you relate to all that as the next generation? Also in an era of identity politics and people reclaiming identity and ethnicity.
So as someone coming here from the States, I had to learn the different racisms inside Israeli society towards the different Jewish identities. There's a lot of racism, not just towards brown Jews, but also towards Orthodox Jews. We are taught in our media to hate the different identities. So if you're secular, you hate the Orthodox. If you're, no matter what color skin you are, you kind of dislike the brownness and the Arabness. And so for me, I had to learn what the racism was in the first place. And when you kind of learn it like that, coming from the teachings of civil rights movement and Martin Luther King, and growing up with Rosa Parks as my idol, it was kind of really clear to me that there's a lot of racism, while people around me didn't even see it, still don't, to this day.
Eva, you're nodding. This resonates with you and your own story also, yes?
Thank you. Welcome, Leah. I'm so excited about this conversation, and I love the way you describe and you articulate the racism in Israeli society. I'm Palestinian Muslim, grew up in Jaffa, left Israel at the age of 19, and I'm 51 now. So I have been away 30 years away from this country, and I live in Costa Rica currently. But I remember growing up how I don't look Arab. I look like an Israeli Ashkenazi.
You're
Yeah,
Ashkenazi passing. Yeah.
yeah. And then when I would speak, because I was at the French school, I would speak, and they would see the French accent, and so they would assume that I'm Jewish Moroccan. And then I would say, no, but I'm actually Palestinian Arab. And at the time, I think I wouldn't even say Palestinian. I would say I'm Arab. I'm Arab. And they're like, oh, then you must be Christian. And I'm like, no, I'm actually Arab Muslim. And so you could see the level of like, we like you. Maybe you're just like, and just like how I would lose credit, the more and more I would say who I am in my national identity. But it was so painful. And and at the time, I think I just turned it into like a joke. I say, oh, when I would go out, I just like, I leave my horns at home, or I leave it the court, like whatever symbolize who I truly am. I'm just like hiding and I'm pretending I'm Ashkenazi. But because this was the expectation, like Ashkenazi are like at the highest level, and this is what we citizen of Israel, whether you're Arab, Mizrahi, Ethiopian, Russian, regardless of who you are in your identity, you need to thrive to be as the Ashkenazi Jew that came from Europe, and so for people that don't understand this level of breakdown within the Israeli society, they cannot actually understand what's happening with the Palestinian citizen of Israel. Because including within the Palestinian citizen of Israel, as I call them now, there's also this, like, there's the Palestinian Muslim, there's the Palestinian Christian. Within the Palestinian Muslim, there's like the Sunni and the Shia. And within the Christian is like the Catholic and the Orthodox and the Armenian and it's such a divided society. And people think they like, oh, there's the Jews who hates the Arab. And I'm like, no. It's so simplistic. There's like such a layers of racism. And that speaks to why this project, this colonial project, is colonial. People are like, why do you refer to it as a colonial project? I'm like, oh, let's see other places that have adapted this division to rule. And I left Israel at the age of 19, but also I've worked in so many different conflict zones in Africa and Southeast Asia and in different places around the world to really be able to see now what's being played out in Israel. And that's what you're speaking to. Is like, for you, it wasn't normal because you were coming from the States. But people that grew up in Israel, they don't see it. And people who are working only on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, they think that that's the only conflict that exists, and it's unsolvable, and it's so complicated. And, we can't touch it because it's traumatizing. And I'm like, you know what, guys? You're just like one of a million other conflict zones around the world. And some conflict have actually achieved resolution. Some conflict have actually achieved transformation. Some conflict have actually
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Do you know the Forum 1325? We recently had a meeting at the Irish Embassy. We heard today that there were, in the 1990s, there were four conflicts that were considered irreconcilable, that were considered to be like never going to be resolved, and they were Ireland and Bosnia and South Africa and Israel.
yes.
Okay, and Israel Palestine. Okay, and three out of four have been resolved. The only one that hasn't has been Israel Palestine, right? So, like what you were saying, Eva, about how like,
Yeah.
oh, people think that this is not resolvable and all of that.
It's complicated. And I had this realization 20 years ago when I was working for an American organization in Burundi, and they were using theater as a tool. And I sat there, and there was like this scene where the Hutu were fighting the Tutsi, and like showing how much what the other did to them. And I had just like, this was my first conflict zone in Africa. And I was like watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what's happening in Palestine, Israel. We're each comparing and competing who suffers more and who started and what you did to us. Oh, no, what you did to us. And we're not seeing the overall context, which is the colonial power, because what happened in the genocide in Rwanda, what's happening in Congo, what happened in Burundi was at the core of it a colonial issue, because the Belgian that had the colony of this Great Lake region have divided the society in a way that they could rule it between, oh, you are Hutu and you are Tutsi because you look this way and you look this way, and so you're going to have the power on this level and you're going to work you're going to be a farmer, and that created a division in the society that weren't at all reflected of what people were living. And I think that's what happened in Palestine, Israel, but because of the trauma of what happened in the Holocaust, we haven't been able to see it and contextualize it, and this is really important to say.
I think with the Holocaust adds a new layer to this conflict that you don't see it repeating in other conflicts. And I think we're the first oppressor that is also the victim.
Welcome everyone to season 4 from Women Ending War. معاكم أميرة مسلم ومعاكم
I'm Elana Stockman. Thank you for being here with us. We're happy to have you here. And if you like what you're hearing, what you're watching, don't forget to subscribe, follow, like, and share. Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell me, you said, Leah, you're a longtime peace activist, yes? You want to tell us a little bit about your work and how you got there?
Sure. I'm a longtime activist. The activist in me awoke when my son was in my belly, when I was just becoming a mom for the first time.
We talk about this a lot. We talk a lot about motherhood. And
I so relate to this. I really want to hear that.
Yeah.
Oh.
How old is your son?
He was born in the war in the summer of 2014. So he was born in November. So I was like super pregnant, and it was the first time that there were bombs falling on Tel Aviv since 91, since the Milchemet HaMifratz. How do you say that in English?
The Gulf War.
The Gulf War.
Yeah.
And it dawned on me for the first time in my life. I remember it was like a spiritual awakening. It was like God, I swear. It was like for the first time in my life, I thought about my Palestinian counterpart. She's also about to become a mom. And I know she also has bombs. And I know that she doesn't have a bomb shelter. She doesn't have sirens. She doesn't have Iron Dome. And I knew in that moment when I was running to the bomb shelter, I don't know why I'm crying, that there is no way in the world that all she wants to do with her unborn child is raise it to kill me. It was this crystal clear moment that all of the lies, all of the years that I didn't really give much thought to, I didn't really fact check, they just crumbled down. And from that lie, there's no way all a mother wants to do is raise her child to kill another people. Like from that lie, it all kind of crumbled down. But I also became aware of a lot of other issues: women's rights, animals' rights, Ethiopian rights, gay rights. Like I started to care about everything under the sun in that year. So I became really active in feminism and veganism. And the Palestinian issue was always in the background. I really quickly realized that there are a lot of financial interests, funding, like pushing this. I saw how the weapons industry was really fueling this conflict and profiting from it. And I saw how we were testing weapons on Palestinian population way back in 2014. But speaking about it was so difficult. Every post every story I'd share, once a month, once every 2 months, got so much backlash, well over all other issues. So I kind of was silent on the subject, relatively, until October 7th.
Mm-hmm. I want to speak to that. If I may, Elana, first of all, thank you for your tears. Touched my heart. And you were like, I don't know why I'm crying. Well, you're crying because you're feeling it, and you're connected to your heart, and our ability as women to carry two hearts in the same body is what enables us to actually make peace. This is what enabled the woman in Ireland and the woman in Liberia to stop the war. And I think it's really important that we speak to that. And the other piece I want to bring is that it's interesting that your awakening happened in 2014, because that was also the time Tsukaitan, the war was called Tsukaitan, which is very ironic.
I think
But that
Tsukaitan was a few years before. I think it was Amudanan, but it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But anyway, in 2014, my friend so I wasn't working on Palestine, Israel at the time. In 2014, my friend, I was studying spiritual psychology and connected with a dear friend that also studied spiritual psychology and was bringing it to Israel in Hebrew. And I remember in 2014, she's like, Eva, we need to do something about what's going on. And up until then, I wasn't really ready to touch the Palestinian-Israeli conflict other than spiritually. And we started this workshop on spiritual psychology and touching the conflict from a spiritual and psychological perspective. And when October 7 happened, we weren't able to do it anymore. We were like, we can't, that's when I created Peace Activation and continued my work. And it's only now 2 years later, we're coming back, and we called it at the time One Whole Peace, and we're continuing our activity now. But this pause of like October 7 is actually the time where the unspoken, the untouchable was suddenly highlighted, and you couldn't ignore it anymore. We cannot ignore it anymore. And the last piece I want to add is that you call your firstborn is Omer. My firstborn is Omram. So there's a lot of interesting symbolic things that I want to like dive deeper with you, not now. But
I think also the year that
head.
I came here might be the same year you left, maybe.
Probably. That's what it's possibly. I left in 1993.
I came in September of 93.
That's when I left, yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing. We definitely need to like acknowledge this. Yes.
I came in
Ilana,
June
to you.
93, by the way.
All three of us. Wow.
I mean, I left 93 and you arrived 93. I feel like it was the years, remember, these were the years of Oslo. And so there was a lot of hope and peace in the air.
Yeah, and then Rabin was assassinated the year later.
Yeah.
But I was a very bit different person back then. When I came in 1993, I was 23 years old, married, religious, had a 4-month-old baby who is now, 32, and had my hair covered and my long skirt. And I was a hold. And I didn't experience Oslo and the Rabin assassination from the perspective of peace, when I was very much in the whole very right wing religious world back then, and so it was a whole other thing. But yeah, I've had my own journey through this. But
anyway. You and I made Aliyah within months apart.
Yeah. I came from the East Coast. I came from Brooklyn.
Okay.
I mean, I am really an Orthodox yeshiva girl from Brooklyn, or at least I was.
Yeah, I can hear the Brooklyn now.
You can hear the Brooklyn. What can you do? Anyway, so Leah, tell us a little bit about your activism. You mentioned that you had a Palestinian counterpart. What do you mean by your counterpart?
Oh, I just envisioned a woman who was like similar to me. That was back then in 2014. Right now, my activism is a little bit of everything online. I took all the skills that I've honed on throughout my digital marketing career, which is mostly paid campaigns, not organic. But I translated that to activism and organic, and I started a profile where at the beginning it was just for me to have an outlet, because I was from October 7th until I opened my profile in July, almost close to a year, I was isolated. I didn't have anyone to talk to. This genocide was unfolding, and every person I tried, it was like a hot potato. Every person I tried to talk to about it I ended up losing the relationship. Like my cousin, who was more than a cousin, a soulmate, a lot of my friends, close friends, far away friends. My father doesn't speak to me today. My sister and I don't speak. Keilu, not about politics, but it's there.
Why don't they speak to you?
I don't speak to my sister, actually. My father doesn't speak to me. It's mutual, because after October 7th, I became this like all I wanted to talk about was this. I didn't want to talk about I didn't want to talk about my shows. I didn't want to talk about what clothes should I buy for the kids for summer. I didn't want to talk about how to make a chicken. Like, I didn't care about anything except this. So I also understand, to a degree, people are sick and tired of hearing from me, but also, like, for instance, my sister, she doesn't take responsibility for anything. That's why I say it's kind of like politics, because Zionism teaches you to avoid responsibility and just place it on others. And that's what she does in her everyday life, which is why I don't really want to talk to her right now.
Eva and I were just talking about this.
Yeah.
About what the dynamic is of like always looking elsewhere to blame. And that we were just talking about this sort of very Zionistic way of not taking responsibility, of saying, oh, it's somebody else's fault, as opposed to sort of owning our own actions. Israel owning our own actions. It is. I agree with you that there's something endemic in the whole culture. I really agree with that.
There's a stumped growth in our society when you don't know how to take responsibility for your own actions on a personal level, on a community level, on a national level. Like, there's a glass ceiling to how much growth you can go through, and what a full and complete and holistic person in society you can become.
Yeah, it's very, and I come from Orthodoxy, and I feel like, there's a lot of orthodoxy supporting, the war supporting Israel's actions in Gaza, I should say. It's not even supporting the war, it's supporting Israel's bloody actions in Gaza. And it's really hard for me. It's really hard for me to see that whole thing, to see the whole way that, like that Orthodox culture and the Orthodox community is really okay with all this bloodshed, cheering it on. That's the world I come from. It's the world I inhabited for 40 years. I still have a half a foot in it. My point was that it was hard for me to see how easily the Orthodox community supported Trump and all of his racist, violent, sexist, really, really violent policies, as if like this world that I come from, like, why is everybody so okay with that othering, with that, all those social hierarchies, with like the imposition of violence? And it's like, I keep asking myself, what is it about this culture that, makes it okay for us to say like, oh yeah, those lives don't matter like that. Anyway, so that's what I see here also. Like, I see also with the support for all of these bloody actions we're taking in Gaza, it's the same sort of like, it's the dehumanization of the other. It's the other people don't count. And anyway, okay, but I'm goleshing. I'm whatever. Yes. Why did what I say make you laugh? I'm just curious.
The connection between what's happening right now in Israel and what's happening in the States is really clear to me. And it's just deteriorating into fascism. And for me, Netanyahu and Bibi are more of the same. Just one is trying to become the other. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but yeah, there's a lot of similaries between the two countries.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Trump Bibi bromance. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Bibi and Trump, narcissism in action. It's just amazing to. It's really amazing to witness it, but beyond anything, for me, and I think we spoke to this with Elana earlier, it's a reflection of our own psyche, and unless we take responsibility that we actually created them, that this is the cancer that has been living in our society, in our body, and that we have been blinded, or that we have been. I mean, of course, we can say we've been lied to, we've been programmed, whatever. But then, the moment we take responsibility for what we accepted to take as truth, and to continue closing our eyes, is is that moment of like, oh, it's not about Bibi and Trump. It's about what did I enable in my inner reality to be reflected now outside? And that's the cancer we need to deal with. And as long as we are going to be staying with the blame and shame and guilt and pointing fingers, we're not going to move forward. And as heartbreaking as it is, the situation right now is offering such a huge opportunity for humanity, not just for Palestine, Israel, for humanity to prevail. But it's impossible to prevail if we don't take action. Like, people think that humanity will prevail and it will happen somewhere outside of them. Someone, the Messiah, or I don't know who, is going to come and save us. It's not. It's like every single person is going to need to take responsibility for all the lies we've been telling ourselves about how we live our life. All the, like, what's her name? Francesca Albanese has just published the report and has been very much attacked against it, the economy of genocide. And just like naming all the organization in Israel and in the US and in around the world, global corporation have been named one by one. Airbnb, Wise, PayPal, Booking, and all of these different companies that we are all tied to and using in our daily life. And in one of her addresses, she's like, are you able to stop now using Airbnb and Booking? Can you stop doing that for 3 months? And I think that it's really important that we each have action to take at our level. Not everybody can go and do Hafganot and have signs and boycott, but each one of us have a space inside to take a decision and take responsibility and do what is at their level. And this is, I think, where peace activation starts and ends. Because I cannot tell you what action you should take. I can take the action that I feel I need to take in full awareness of the traumas that I carry. I can guide on the traumas that other people are carrying, but I cannot impose on someone else the action that they should take. And I think that's where we are losing ourselves, because right now the genocide is continuing because we're fighting over, is it a genocide or not genocide? Should we do this? Should we do boycott, or should we do what should we, can we stop talking and each person decide for their own leadership, in their own leadership of this is the action that I will take. Whoever feels resonance with this action, please join me. And whoever feels resonance with Ilana's action, please join her. And whoever feels resonance with Leah's action, please join her, rather than fighting this action by saying this action is not good, this action is better. And I'm like, I don't care which action is better. I just want action. And I want, and part of this action is coming from coming back to the within, to this field. And this is so hard to carry right now, to say to someone while there's a genocide happening, what can you do? I'm like, can you please increase the field of love inside of you? Can you please increase the field of acceptance inside of you? Can you please increase you being able to hold your truth while still listening to someone else's truth that denies and defies your truth? That's where peace activation starts and ends. And it's so hard to carry such a truth, actually.
Yeah. So Leah, when Eva is talking about different actions, I'd love to hear a little bit about you and what your actions, what your peace activism looks like. Right, Eva?
Yeah. Definitely Eva's back. What she just said leads up to that. So like I said, I opened the profile and I started publishing my poems that I started writing deep in isolation. But very quickly, I also started to join different activities. There are different organizations. I didn't join an organization, but I kind of added myself to different WhatsApp groups, and I started to keep my eyes and ears open. And I started to going to interfaith iftars and solidarity marches and different activities that not necessarily flat out protests, because the mega protests are very Zionistic. The big protests are mostly just get the hostages back. And when they say hostages, they don't mean the Palestinian hostages. They mean only Israeli hostages. But the grassroots initiatives, mostly in the West Bank, are the ones that I enjoy going to. And these aren't things necessarily relevant for people in the diaspora, but people here in the land need to start making friends on the other side. Friendships is activism. Also, speaking up in close circles is very, very difficult and feels very ineffective, but it's a big part of it. It's not allowing racism in spaces that I'm in. And it's really the little things.
The little things that make great impact. I feel like part of the desperation and the breakdown is also the inability to see that our helplessness and powerlessness can be shifted when we take small action. Every single action that we take to say no, not in my name, not with my pocket, and I will exactly what you're saying. These are the small actions that people dismiss. And we were talking earlier with Elana around the zilzul, how we dismiss certain action because we think that they're not effective, but we don't realize that 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, the more we will each individually take responsibility and pull this activism into activation. And I really love, like, part of peace activation is around how can we turn peace activists into peace activators, meaning that we don't need to fight anybody. We don't need to fight for peace. We cannot fight for peace. Peace is not happening because we're going to push for it. Peace will happen when we will embody it, when we will understand that when I'm in any space, I'm going to embody this peace. I'm going to activate the peace with you. And I'm going to activate it because I will have the space inside of me to hold the truth that you are speaking to that is not mine, that I disagree with, that I maybe even reject. But I'm not dismissing you as a person, as a human. And that's where what we're living, the time we're living right now is the breakdown of humanity as which human is more valuable or more worthy of life than another human. And that's the breakdown of all society. So maybe Israel will succeed in exterminating the Palestinian, but they will be exterminated because there's no other. There's no Palestinian and Israeli. There's humans. And we are at a time where humanity will not prevail unless we each individually take action, regardless of who we are, what our identity is, what our religion is, and understanding that it's a common thread that we're all having to face together in unity. And that's the move towards the next, I think, the next level of humanity.
I totally agree. I think that my activism has taken me to the realms of we're all connected and we're all one, and your pain is my pain and your joy is my joy. And no matter who you are, like, it's everybody. I definitely have, my activism has taken me to the same places that you just mentioned. 1,000%.
Is there anything else that you want to share around your activism or specific activity, or how you and Amira are working together?
Oh. Amira, wow. Amira is a gift in my life. One of the most amazing friendships that came out of all of this pain and turmoil and speaking up and losing people and then gaining people. And she's definitely a soul sister. We connect on many levels. I met her through activism she did for her the family she married into, for her son's family, the Kisia family in Bejala. But after that, she became this whole other activist doing protective presence, and I definitely ventured with her into that realm, as well as her mom, Salwa, who is a tour guide in Bethlehem. And I went on 2 tours with Salwa in Bethlehem, and I brought a friend of mine on the second one. I actually went on the second one just so my friend would also go to Bethlehem and see. But Amira, her son is the age of my son, and she's just my my sister from another mister. So everything she does, I do with her now in terms of activism. If she's involved with something, she knows to involve me as well. Like I'm there for whatever she's there for.
Have you done the civil protection in the West Bank? Have you done that?
I haven't done protective presence like exactly yet. But I did participate in a protective presence workshop where they discussed the different pain points in protective presence. And there were so many issues to touch on. It was very, very interesting. But one of the biggest elephant in the room was the fact that the different organizations doing protective presence now aren't coordinating with each other. And there isn't this one big organization. And also there's an issue where there's one organization that doesn't even want to work with Israelis. You want to work with Israelis, don't want to work with Israelis. Like protective presence is a very Israeli filled part of activism because it's here in the land. You have to physically be here. And I've helped her bring some people in because at the border, they go through rigorous checking and they have to like say that they have someone that they know here in Israel. So like I've been that kind of contact person, but I haven't I haven't gone to Masafer Yatta and done protective presence myself yet. But I hope to do so in the next few months.
Yeah. Leah, this has been so nice talking to you, and please, will you share with us links to your poetry and other things?
I will.
Eva, do you have any?
Would you like me to read a poem?
Sure, that's a great way to finish the podcast.
Perfect.
Eva also, the last podcast Eva also ended with a poem.
Then it's Bashert.
It's Bashert.
So I'll open one from my drafts.
Oh, drafts. Wow. New.
So this is really, really new. I'm not sure if it's even finished yet. It's called Don't Be Sorry. Be Happy. I cry from all the pain and suffering we are causing. I'm helpless because I'm not able to stop it. I weep for my community that have allowed themselves to be manipulated into hate. I'm isolated socially and treated like a traitor by my own community. I break a little more each day from the violence, discrimination, and injustices. No, my friend, don't be sorry for my tears. Don't be saddened by my sorrow. Don't be upset when I pay prices. Don't try to fix me when I break a little each day. Be happy for me that I maintained my humanity. Be proud for me for not allowing myself to be numbed by the pain. Be relieved that not all Israelis are brainwashed and racist. Be filled with hope that not all is lost. Be joyful that I break a little each day, because then I grow back stronger than ever before.
Wow.
Okay, I think it's done. I think I should post it as it is.
Yeah, just one. I would just only add one sentence. I'm expanding because you are. You're
expanding. I am, and it fucking hurts.
Yeah, every heartbreaks is heart expansion. So that's the only thing I would offer. It's so beautifully written.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, Leah, thank you for sharing that.
So
could you send me a copy of that? I would love to share that.
Sure.
Can I? Even though it's even if it's unpublished, it's still That's amazing. Thank you.
Wow, Leah, thank you so much. Thank you for your heart. Yes. Thank you for your tears. Thank you for your integrity. And what a blessing to be speaking with you. Thank you. I honor you. Yeah.
Amen, inshallah.
What Eva said.
Yes.
Thank you very much, both of you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me a space to cry and holding space for me.
Thanks for listening to Women Ending War. If you want to help create change, you should join us.
Subscribe, like, comment, or share. Tell your friends about us. Talk about it. Be part of the solution.
Thanks, and see you next time.